Hack versus hack, or HvH, has been around since the beginning of time. From 1.6 to Global Offensive, HvH has always been a part of Counter-Strike, and it always will be. It's a sub-community that enjoys the game in a different way. Many people who have never played HvH don't understand it's not as brain-dead as it seems. If you put someone with zero knowledge of HvH against someone who knows what they're doing, the former will get steamrolled, even if they're both using the same cheat and settings. HvH actually has a lot of mechanics that go beyond just seeing which cheat will shoot first. There's been a lot of people who have dedicated their lives to HvH. They live and breathe it, and they never stop talking trash to everyone. They often use the same insults on repeat, such as, "You're a no-name," or "You're poor." That's basically all they would say, along with calling you a newcomer and trying to flex their UID. UID, which means the number on their Skeet account for when they registered on the website. You needed an invite to be able to register, which meant you needed to be known or at least know someone who was known. HvHers worship their UIDs, and they made sure to remind everyone whenever possible. If they could tattoo their UID on their foreheads, they probably would. They also still spew the same old lines, such as typing 1 when they kill you, which used to mean literally getting killed in one bullet, but then became something everyone typed regardless how many bullets it took, or if you died from a nade. Shooting body, or BAME, used to be looked down on since it was considered a cheap way to win, but over time, everyone started body aiming. Everyone had their min damage override set to 5 on ops and 10 on scouts. Using nades used to be considered sweaty behavior, but now everyone uses them, to the point where people have auto jump throw nade location spots. Hitting on-shot or shooting pelvis was also considered cheap, but everyone did it anyway. Everyone also said the infamous line HDF do NN, which translates to "stop you no name." Most people never knew what it meant since they never bothered translating it. They just typed it because everyone else did. There was tons of people selling configs or luas since no one knew what half the features even did. To be fair, most cheats didn't come with any guides or feature explanations. So if you were new to HvH, you kinda just had to wing it or go off on what others said. Selling configs was actually a very profitable business. People made thousands from just moving sliders and clicking buttons on their config. If you had some cool media, people would buy your config since they assumed it must be good. People who sold their configs made sure everyone knew where to buy it, so their name on Steam always included their Selly GG link. A lot of people who bought configs didn't realize that anyone can make themselves look like the best player ever with cherry-picked media. So a lot of them were pretty disappointed, especially when they realized they couldn't just hold W and auto-win. As for luas, most paid ones were just placebo effect and didn't actually do anything. Most of the performance luas were placebos or scams, but that didn't stop tons of people from buying them. Very few of them actually did anything meaningful. Not to mention, some luas were actually malicious and stole your token along with other things. The mechanics of HvH have changed a lot of times over the years, mostly from Valve patching exploits or fixing bugs that weren't intended. There's been a few different eras for HvH. We have no spread, to fake angles, to desync, to jitter. Once upon a time, no-spread servers were what many people considered true HvH. No-spread was on custom maps, usually the same one, and people would jump around with max fake lag to see who had the best cheat. It was quite literally a game of hack versus hack. Fake angles era is the one most people remember and consider the best. Fake angles opened up a lot of different playstyles and rewarded skill and knowledge. The more you knew about HvH, the better you'd be. This era is considered the most skill-based since there was little RNG and few to no exploits. Then came desync, and it was easily a downgrade. HvH took a big hit and never really recovered properly. Ideal Tick was also introduced, and it was loved by many, but hated by others. Now in CS2, we have Jitter, which is basically irrelevant since there's no actual anti-aim or fakes. Over the years, there's been a lot of exploits that have greatly impacted HvH. There's Double Tap, which of course lets you shoot 2 bullets at a time. Rapid Fire, which lets you shoot your entire mag extremely fast, if not all at once. No Spread, which gives you perfect accuracy in the air, and Magic Bullet, which would let you shoot through the entire map. But the more controversial exploits were Crimwalk and Fake Duck. Crimwalk would break every cheat's rage bot, causing it to either not shoot at all or miss every bullet. The only counter to this was manually shooting at Crimwalkers. Crimwalk, while annoying to deal with, wasn't actually that OP. You'd miss shooting at them while they were Crimwalking, but they also couldn't shoot back at you until they stopped. If you shot manually, you'd win. Still, it wasn't ideal since a lot of people played in third person or just didn't understand what was going on. As for Fake Duck, you'd sit in a strong spot and glue your feet there, and then hold down your Fake Duck key for the entire round. It's kinda similar to just crouch peeking behind cover, but at least there was ways around that. Fake Duck also wasn't OP, but it was just annoying. A few honorable mentions to other patch exploits such as Air Stuck and Ultra Extended Backtrack. HvH servers have come and gone, and there's plenty of them over the last decade. Almost everyone and their mom has owned a server at some point. Some of the more notable servers were Game Time and Rantize servers. A lot of different servers existed for different types of HvH. There was of course No Spread and Spread servers, and later on Desync and Fake Angle servers. But there was also other types of servers which were targeted for a more specific playstyle. This includes Scout-only servers, Auto-only servers, servers where the op was either limited to 1 per team or banned outright, and the rare Pistol-only servers. Most community servers were 16K servers, which meant everyone had max money every round to buy whatever they wanted. So it didn't really matter which team was winning since there was no penalty or reward. It wasn't team-based since everyone was just playing for their own KD. People could also swap teams whenever they wanted or reset their score. Some people played just for fun, but most played for media. Some of them would post their media on forums like Spotlight or on Aimware forums. Some also posted their media on YouTube to show how good they were. There's hundreds of channels that upload their epic HvH highlights, but they almost all have ugly visuals and an awful view model, usually in low quality as well, since most of them played on toasters and could barely get 60 FPS. So it was usually potato graphics with a German rap song playing, which of course is very epic. Community servers were where people tried to make a name for themselves and impress and befriend other HvHers. Their end goal was usually to get a skeet invite or get invited to an exclusive HvH group. Countless of groups have popped up and tried to make a name for themselves. Most never went anywhere and only exist as a gathering place for no names, but the ones that gained popularity are still remembered today. This includes groups like Stainless, Zoocrass, Splash Gang, Godless, Maverick, and that's basically it. There's thousands of more groups, but half of them are just copies of older groups with minor changes. You have the ironic copies, and then the copies pretending to be ironic. It gets even more confusing when copies of copies start happening. Anyways, these groups were formed so nerds could feel like they are part of a cool exclusive group. People like belonging to a group, especially if the group is renowned. Every group claimed to be the best and competed with other groups to prove it. Of course, random games and matchmaking, or even on community servers, weren't the most competitive environment, since there were way too many random variables. So HvHers looked for another way to prove they were the best, and that it was real and legitimate. HvH tournaments became a thing so groups could officially go against other groups, eliminating any excuses about unfair advantages or fake media. The first ever HvH tournament was held in 2017, featuring Stainless against Splash Gang. While it wasn't a typical tournament with seeding, it was the pilot for future tournaments. Many bigger tournaments followed, with some even being streamed and actually attracting a decent amount of viewers. HvH's popularity was at its peak, and both newer and older players were interested in either participating or watching. There was something interesting about watching an official 5v5 of HvHers. They had to actually play as a team too. Even though they all had wall hacks, communication was still key since dormant ESP wasn't that great. It was also the only place where you'd see decent HvHers go against each other, and it was fair. In normal matchmaking, HvH was usually a 1v2 or 2v5 or some other unfair number. Even if it was balanced, often one team would dominate the other since they were more experienced and had better cheats and configs. On community servers, the teams were almost split uneven, and you still had a bunch of people with cracked cheats or free cheats who did nothing except inflate the KD of better players. You also had a lot of people naming themselves insert alias testing config, which was just for anti-media, and an excuse in case you did bad. Not to mention, everyone constantly resetting their score as soon as they were negative. So it was actually refreshing to see people with the best cheats and knowledge go against each other. For some of the tournaments, there was even prize money on the line. This added more interest for both players and viewers since it provided an additional incentive to win besides bragging rights. The prize money usually wasn't much, but it was something. In 2017, Wingman was introduced to CSGO as part of Operation Hydra, but it later became a permanent mode in the game after how popular it was. At the time it was introduced, there was no Overwatch for this mode. Valve had unintentionally introduced an official HvH game mode. You could rank up to global and gain XP without any risk of getting banned or anyone server siding. At the higher ranks, HvH was guaranteed, and since it was only 2v2, you just needed one friend to queue with. Most of the maps were very CT-sided, with the worst one being Lake. Most games on Lake resulted in both CT players sitting behind rocks and waiting to crouch peek as soon as the terrorists moved in. If you lost one round on CT, you'd probably lose the game. All the maps were CT-sided, but some were more balanced, and you could counter some of the one-ways with nades or mollies. Skeet was the best cheat at the time, so if you had Skeet, you were probably just going to own everyone. Aimware, interwebs, mutiny, and the thousands of pastes that were around all stood no chance. Luckily, this was when Zeus went public, and after buying their resolver from Styles, Zeus easily became one of the best HvH cheats. Skeet now had a formidable foe. Since before, no matter how good you were as a player, if you were using aimware or some other cheat, you were just going to miss and get tapped. It had nothing to do with config or user issue. Most cheats just couldn't resolve Skeet's anti-aim. Zeus would close that gap, and after the cheat got cracked, it became even more accessible to people who couldn't afford to buy cheats. Unfortunately, over the months, Zeus would get updated, and it'd get worse with every update. It got to the point where cracked Zeus was better than real Zeus. Zeus later shut down, and Skeet regained its place as the top cheat. Wingman HvH went on for months, and for a while, it actually kept most HvHers out of competitive. All good things must come to an end though. After months of Redditors whining about how unplayable Wingman was, Overwatch was added to it, which meant it was no longer safe to rage in it. YouTubers that have dedicated their channels to cheating content have come and gone over the years. There's been thousands of them, but the ones that have stood out are the people who made more unique videos, rather than the traditional HvH media videos. We have Zadie, who became known for his Indigo pasting videos, and for wearing thigh highs. His channel has been dead for a long time, But when he was active, he mostly just uploaded matchmaking content, where he was either legit cheating or raging versus other cheaters. Legit cheating videos were pretty popular during this time. Next, we have Deadpool, who also has been dead for years, and his channel was banned over a year ago. Not many people know anything about Deadpool himself, other than he barely spoke to anyone, and he definitely didn't like talking in his videos. Deadpool made a name for himself in 2017 with Fanta, back when Fanta was one of the best cheats for semi-raging. But then he transitioned to GameSense and quickly grew since he realized including skeet.cc in every title was easy views. Next, we have B-Hop Got That Guy. B-Hop became pretty popular despite having the most annoying voice known to man. Well, this was also during the time period where legit cheating videos were rare on YouTube, and he filled that gap into people who were curious about cheats. Then we have Lucky, who made a variety of content, from cheat reviews to meme videos to HvH montages to eventually making his own cheat called Lucky Charms. Cheat reviews were pretty rare back then, and Lucky was actually a good HvHer and pretty OG, so his opinion carried more weight. Lucky is the only one on this list that isn't completely dead or inactive. Lastly, we have InfoWolf. Back in 2017, InfoWolf used to stream for 10 hours a day on Wingman servers. InfoWolf was the ultimate hypocrite and crybaby. He played extremely sweaty, yet complained whenever people played sweaty against him. He would body aim, but cried if anyone body aimed him. He'd remove his friends if they matched against him and didn't let him win. He would regularly end his stream after losing a game, which happened a lot since even with Skeet, he was still bad and constantly lost to Zeus users or other Skeeters. He'd accuse everyone of stream sniping him since, of course, everyone revolved their lives around him. And to make things worse, he was like 40 years old. So yeah, to be fair to him, his streams were pretty entertaining. A few honorable mentions to Master Loser, Darred, Gil, and Brutal. It's impossible to have a video about HvH and not talk about Skeet. For so long, GameSense was the golden hack and dominated HvH. It had the best resolver and unique features that no other cheat had. It was truly a force to be reckoned with. In 2017, ping spiking was a strong playstyle since hitting backtrack was so effective and annoying. This made Skeet even more overpowered. Visuals were also very clean, and changing configs took less than a second with no stutter. The menu also looked way better than every other cheat menu by far, to the point where even to this day, there's been so many copies of the Skeet menu and so many replicas and clones. No one else seems to be able to make a menu that looks good without copying Skeet. So with the reputation of Skeet being this good, it's not surprising that a lot of people were desperate to get invited. These days, it's common knowledge you can buy a Skeet invite from one of the many resellers. But back then, it wasn't that simple. Getting invited was a lot harder, and most Skeet users didn't want to invite anyone since they wanted the user base to remain small. They didn't want randoms getting access to the golden hack, unless, of course, you did something for their entertainment. A lot of people did some pretty embarrassing things for Skeet invite, such as sticking crayons up their butt, drinking their own piss, getting a GameSense tattoo, becoming femboys or women, and the list goes on. The worst one was something so bad that it's literally illegal. Let's just say it involves getting intimate with a dog. People did a lot of things for a video game cheat invite, and the kicker is, sometimes they wouldn't even get the invite. During the last few years of CSGO, the HvH community basically died. COVID gave HvH some life in 2020 and 2021 since everyone was stuck in their house and didn't have school or work. But by 2022, the world had returned to normal and HvH and CSGO itself had become stale. Fake ducking in one ways for the entire game was pretty boring. This plus desync, fake duck, ideal tick, and other things made HvH less fun and interesting, which made people nostalgic and start to miss old HvH. So, legacy servers became a thing where you could time travel back to 2018 and enjoy fake angles. Legacy servers became more popular than current desync servers, since both new and old players agreed that 2018 was far more enjoyable. A lot of cracked versions of cheats from back then were made relevant again, since none of the current cheats were compatible. These days, the HvH scene is somewhat alive, but it's mostly just newer players. Most maps are made of paper now, so you can get shot through the entire map in so many random spots. The one-ways in CS2 are even worse, and there's so many of them. Far ESP is a thing again, which means you can see everyone in the entire map no matter where they are. This is useful especially for legit cheating, but for HvH, it removes all tension since you can see everyone at all times. Dormant ESP wasn't anywhere as strong as current Far ESP. The exploits that have been around for CS2 are even more busted. Ping is a massive deciding factor, and Peeker's advantage is even more overtuned. There's no fake lag or ideal tick to get around it. If your ping is much higher, there's nothing you can do about it, unless their cheat or config just sucks. Anti-aim is basically irrelevant and doesn't matter. The magic is just gone, and the enjoyment just isn't there anymore. Or maybe we've just grown up and it's no longer appealing to us.